Did we just see the match of the year? Was MJF versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Championship match of the year? So Tony Khan decided to go all out in this. He decided he wants to book MJF versus Bryan Danielson in a 60-minute Iron Man match. Now look, I was skeptical of this before because I know MJF can work. I know MJF is a good wrestler, but 60 minutes is a long time. And we already know AEW cards aren't necessarily short in their own right. I mean, this card went on 4 hours. That's not a short card by any means. So an hour-long match at the end of the night might have been a bit too much, but the quality of this match was unmatched. Bryan Danielson proved why he is the best in-ring worker of the last 10 years. Last 15 years, actually. Bryan Danielson proved why he deserves where he is in the wrestling world. And MJF didn't slack off too. MJF proved he's much better than people think. And people just think MJF's just a talker. MJF's just a good heel. He's just a big loudmouth. But he can back it up in the ring. Oh boy, did he back it up in this match. So in the early goings of this match, MJF was trying to keep up with Danielson in terms of wrestling on the mat and in terms of keeping up the pace with Danielson. But he quickly realized that's not the way to do it. And I mean, we all know you don't do that with Bryan Danielson. So MJF's heel tactics started to come about, and he started doing little things, rolling out the ring, going into the crowd, throwing water in a child's face. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about how good of a heel MJF and how he's not scared to do things. That's one thing nowadays. I think people are scared to do things. MJF's not scared. So back to the topic at hand. MJF realized this, and he went back to his heel tactics, as we've said now previously. And this started working for MJF, as I think all of his falls were with heel tactics. Every single one of his pinfalls. I'm not sure, I can't remember if the third one was with heel tactic. But the first and second, obviously, low blow, pinned him. And then there's no break in these Iron Man matches in AEW. So, pinned him again straight away, got 2 falls. All of a sudden, it was 2-1. So, Danielson obviously got his first pinfall with his flying knee. And that was a clean fall. So, at this point, it was 2-1. No, I lie. It was 2-2 because MJF took the bite on the low blow. That was interesting. I expected that. I was going into the match thinking MJF's going to cost himself a point in order to get a point or 2. So he's going to DQ himself, but he's going to benefit from it in some way. Now more about the match. MJF was trying things that aren't MJF. So he tried a springboard moonsault to the outside, and he's knee buckled in storyline. And that kind of proved, I think MJF's going to, I wouldn't say run with the story because I don't think it's much of a story. But MJF always says he doesn't need to do these things. He just needs to be a good wrestler. He just needs to cheat his way through things. He always says he doesn't need to do the big outlandish moves. And when he tries it, doesn't come off. Except for later on. But that's not the point. More often than not, it doesn't come off for him because he'll hurt himself. And he'll basically say that that's the problem with doing these things. And it runs with the story of MJF, that he tried it, it didn't work. It actually cost him. Because his knee buckled, and that was Danielson's target for a lot of the match thereafter. Now, towards the latter ends of the matches, MJF set up Danielson on a table and went for it. Something that we wouldn't expect MJF to do. Huge elbow drop to the outside, onto the table, where Danielson is lying, and he pulled it off. It looked like a clean elbow drop. You know, you can see the difference between a good elbow drop and just an elbow drop that anybody can do. MJF had a good elbow drop. So, rolled him back in, went for the pin. Didn't happen. Then as we got closer to the end of the match, Danielson actually got MJF in a hold. I don't know what you call this hold. I think it was a single leg Boston Crab turned into something else. You know how Danielson works. You know his in-ring, his technical wrestling is bar none. There's only one other person, but that's another topic, who I think is a better technical wrestler. Not wrestler, technical wrestler than Bryan Danielson. And that's Zack Sabre Jr. I said it the other day on Twitter, and it was mixed bags. But anyway, that's not the point of this. And MJF held on. Didn't tap. Got all the way to 60 minutes. Clock went out. Match was announced as a draw. Then we hear Tony Schiavone on commentary saying, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that. Fine, let me go to the ring. he says that this is going to sudden death. So the next fall, the person who gets the next fall wins the match. Both got some good falls, near falls early on. MJF rolled out to the ring, heel tactics, grabbed the oxygen tank, which, by the way, they used oxygen on him between the time of the match ending and then the sudden death. MJF was on oxygen, so oxygen tank was on the outside. He used it when the ref couldn't see, hit Danielson with it, came back in, put Danielson in his submission. Danielson passed out. Just as the ref was about to call the match off, Danielson woke up again. So MJF held on to the hold, and then Danielson eventually tapped, which I find a little bit weird. I don't like Danielson tapping, if I'm being real. I do not like Danielson tapping. But it happened. It happens. A big statement for MJF at the end of the day. It's not like it's a nobody making Danielson tapping like when Garcia made Danielson tap. That's my issue. I think he made him tap. He could have passed out, but I'm pretty sure Danielson tapped to Garcia, which is a whole nother story. So MJF actually making him tap, it's decent. He's the world champion. I mean, for goodness sake, he's the world champion. MJF then won the match. And this match was just excellent. MJF was bleeding pools and pools of blood, which is also not, he's done it before, I guess, but it's not his style. And when he bleeds, it just means something more. And that's not a shot at a certain somebody else. Although I've discussed that previously, that I'm not a big fan of it. But when someone like MJF bleeds, you think, oh shit, something went down. This is serious. This is a tough match. This is violent. This is serious. So that was like, okay, this match is really ramping up now. There was a time when both men were trying to get quick pinfalls on each other, which really showed how desperate both men were to win this match. They were rolling around. This was going on for like, I swear, like 2 minutes. Different roll-ups, different types of pins, just trying to get the quick pin on each other, just to get a point over each other. And that was excellent work, because it really showed, and it wasn't overdone. It was in the middle of the match, when both men were really desperate, really tired, and it showed how badly they wanted to win it. Now the question is, okay, previously the best match for me this year was Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. And I'm not a huge Kenny Omega fan, so that match was damn good. I rated it 6 stars. Sometimes I feel like I rated that a bit too high in my mind. Sometimes I think maybe 5.5. But that's what I scored it at the time, so that's what I'm going to leave it as for now. I'll see later down the year when you can compare it to other matches. And this might be one that I have to compare it to. Was this match better than that? That's my question. And I have to look at it as like, it was a long match. Sometimes people think long match equals good match. That's not always the case. That's really not always the case. And I'm trying to make sure I understand that in my brain that is not the case. I need to make sure that I know that it wasn't just a long match. Was it that good throughout the match? And I'm a sucker for a match that's slow. I wouldn't say slow, that's the wrong words, but paced right. The right moves at the right time. A little bit more technical. Not 10,000 super kicks, not 10,000 Canadian destroyers. I like the story side telling of wrestling a lot of the time, and real storytelling, not storytelling that you got to go and do your own research on because they try to make it far too complicated, and you got to know this guy's backstory with this other guy from 18 years ago because they don't ever mention it until they see each other 18 years later. Whatever, you get what I'm trying to say. I'm a sucker for real wrestling stories. Like the Bloodline story has been my favorite of the last 15 years, and I think a lot of people's favorite, so that's not just an outlandish statement. And this match really catered to my style. And surprisingly, that Kenny Omega versus Ospreay match was quick but paced right, and there was storytelling within the match, and there was storytelling within them too, with around the fact that Kenny Omega was the biggest star, the biggest foreign star in Japan, and now Will Ospreay is, and Will Ospreay wants to cement his spot in that position. Clearly that didn't happen, but that's not the topic. This match really catered to me, as I was saying. And I'm really trying to figure out, was this match of the year so far? And how much do I rate it? In my head, I'm saying 5 stars. Simply because it was long. Sometimes a little bit too long. Sometimes it dragged on a bit. Early goings were a little bit slow, but obviously they had to pace themselves, so it's understandable. I'm not expecting more, if I'm being honest. It got a bit predictable towards the end when MJF was the one being MJF was the one in the hold, so Danielson was trying to submit MJF and was holding on until the end. I think if that was the other way around, it might have made a bit more sense, because I think everyone was predicting MJF to come out the winner. And if it was the other way around, you'd be like, oh damn, is Danielson gonna win the sudden death now? That's the way I would have thought of it, because I always feel if something goes to sudden death, the person who was holding on right at the end is the one that's going to lose. He got his good rub by holding on till the end, getting that draw, so not losing. And obviously in this case it was MJF. So it was kind of predictable when it came down to the sudden death stage. That's my only caveat to it not beating the other match. And at the same time, the other match had a lot less to work with. A lot less time, a lot less creativity to be allowed. Obviously, Iron Man match, you got a lot of creativity that's allowed, that is afforded to you. But what you do with that creativity is important. Some people can just go off the rails. I do think this is the best Iron Man match we've seen in a long time. But yeah, I think I'm waffling on here now. I want to know from you guys, is this match of the year so far? In all promotions. All promotions. And if you know me, guys, I'm a WWE guy at the end of the day. But I appreciate and I love all wrestling. So if I see something, I'm going to appreciate it. And I'm going to tell you guys, this was damn good. So this is not me dick riding AEW. If you know me, I do not dick ride AEW. Or Tony Khan for that matter. So let me know what you guys think. Was it match of the year? How many stars would you rate it out of 5? I've gone for about, I think, 5.5. Yeah, I think it might change. My opinion might change throughout this week when I see and when I think about it more. But yeah, let me know, guys. Anyways, guys, see you in the next video. Subscribe down below, do all that stuff. And yeah, take care.